What's up, guys? Back here at reInvent 2025 in wonderful Las Vegas. It's been a crazy day. This is day 2. And I'm here with Taylor Otwell, who is the creator of the Laravel framework and also the CEO and founder of Laravel, the company.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about too.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's good
thanks
to be
for
here.
coming by our booth. So I guess first place to get started, what is Laravel?
Yeah, it's a great question. Laravel's an open source PHP framework that I created way back in 2011 as a total side project. It is a batteries included web development framework. So very similar to like Ruby on Rails in the Ruby ecosystem or like Django and Python. Laravel's very batteries included in the sense that it has like a database ORM, basic authentication, authorization, encryption, job queuing, task scheduling. Everything you kind of need to build a full stack web application is really built in. And we have like opinions on. It's kind of like a very curated, opinionated framework, which a lot of people really like because that makes it very productive. And people use it to build all sorts of web applications.
So one of those words that you said is not like the other. You were mentioning a bunch of different pieces of functionality, but you said PHP.
Right, yeah.
Which for a lot of people maybe haven't heard about PHP recently. It's all TypeScript and JavaScript and Python.
Yeah.
Talk about that. I think Laravel has become kind of an anchor point in the PHP community in the last few years.
Right. Yeah. Like when I created Laravel back in 2011, PHP, I would say, was in a pretty dark place. Like a bunch of people were like, Node was sort of in its ascendancy. Other frameworks were popular and like, should I learn something else? Is this good for my career? And I think Laravel was sort of like a breath of fresh air in the PHP ecosystem. PHP's evolved a lot over the years. Even since I started Laravel, it's become more type safe. It's gotten twice as fast. It's gotten more secure. They've like retired features that were insecure. So it's really become a much more like stable, robust language than it maybe was historically. There's also just a lot of it out there. PHP was a very popular language for a long time on the internet. That's made it very widespread. So we see a lot of like new Laravel applications. We also see people modernizing older PHP applications into Laravel, or maybe they were built in older frameworks into a more modern framework like Laravel. So still a very like widespread, robust ecosystem out there around PHP. And Laravel's, I've been happy to play a part in it.
I mean, PHP is one of my first loves. I think it's from the first like web programming I ever did was building little, PHP sites. And
yeah. I hear that a lot. I think it was a lot of people's entry point into the web.
Totally. Yeah.
It's very accessible, very easy to learn.
Dynamic scripting. I mean, editing through SFTP on a live server and having it
just like
run.
fire up Notepad.
Yeah. It's kind of this like beautiful pre-DevOps, like pre-Webpack build compilation, just a single PHP file. You could do so much.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We had earlier this morning, sitting there was Sam Lambert from Planiscan. We were talking about the LAMP stack.
Right.
Kind of the older era of MySQL and kind of PHP fits with it.
I think he has a soft spot in his heart for that as well. I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, bring us up to today. I mean, so you started this project, this side project. Can you talk about it turning into a company, and then like what is the company today around it? What are the products that you have?
Yeah, that journey was kind of interesting. I put Laravel out there in 2011. I made no money off of it for several years. I mean, which makes sense. It was an open source project. I didn't even know if other people would use it, to be honest. Mainly built it for myself. But around like late 2013, I started building my first like commercial product around Laravel, which was basically a deployment platform for Laravel apps. It was a little bit different than like fully managed platforms in the sense that on Laravel Forge, which is the first product I wrote, you brought your own like AWS IAM credential, and then we provisioned EC2 servers on your behalf and installed PHP, installed MySQL, like automated a bunch of stuff. And then when you push code to GitHub, we deploy it. So that was the first commercial product I built.
So you weren't running any infrastructure, to be clear.
No.
You were just kind of this
and that was like the low risk approach for me as like a solo person building this and just trying to monetize something around Laravel. I was like, okay, I won't be responsible really for like the hardware. I'll just automate a bunch of stuff that I was already automating for myself, and I'll just bring it to other people. And this is like another situation where I had no idea if anyone would use it, but within like a month, I had like a few thousand paying customers, and it was like, oh, I actually have a day job still.
Like, oop, product market fit. Whoops.
Yeah, and I'm having to do like customer support myself, and so then it was like, that's when I went full time on Laravel. So like January 1, 2015 was my first day full time. I woke up that morning, I'm working only on Laravel, and it's been that way ever since. And so kind of fast forward like 10 years, We're now a team of 90. We eventually raised money in 2024 to build more ambitious. We actually built a fully managed
Right, that's the
deployment
new
platform.
platform.
So
So kind
really,
of
like,
Laravel Cloud
yeah,
experience,
it's
right?
sort of like the evolution of Forge. Like back when I built Forge, we didn't take on the risk of like, hey, we're not going to be fully managed. We'll let people bring their own infrastructure. Now we're actually offering like, hey, we will run the infrastructure for you. We will scale it. We will secure it. So much more like robust offering for kind of a new customer segment for us. Like, historically Laravel has been very popular amongst indie hackers, SMBs, and now we're kind of moving more up market a little bit with Laravel Cloud, where we're starting to sell into enterprises a little bit more. So it's been a fun journey.
Do you find that people that are looking at Laravel Cloud are building like brand new products? I mean, we always find that's the easiest to get.
Yeah.
Or are there people that are kind of in that intermediate state where they're migrating? Legacy stuff is always super hard to move, but I'm curious kind
Yeah.
of how you see the.
We see a mix. I'd say it's a mix of people like re-platforming onto Laravel from legacy PHP. So we have some pretty big customers that are rebuilding sort of old school PHP into Laravel because their dev team already knows PHP. They're comfortable with it. It's kind of an easier migration. And then we just have like net new Laravel apps around the world. PHP, I would say, just still does not have like this strong foothold in Silicon Valley, but around the world, there are many interesting PHP apps being built that are just totally net new. So we see a lot of that. And then we see people also that were running like self-managing, very complicated infrastructure themselves, already running Laravel apps and want to like just rid themselves of that burden. And they're happy to use Laravel Cloud. They can do like preview environments. They can do auto scaling. It's just like a nicer, more productive environment.
So it's all that great DX that people have
Yeah.
come to expect in other platforms, but applied to
Applied to Laravel and
Laravel and
PHP. Applied to
PHP.
backend. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. We met here at reInvent a year
Yes.
ago. What's different about the company 12 months ahead? That's 12 months ago and maybe 12 months going from here, going
Oh
forward.
gosh, where were we? So December 2024.
I feel like you had just raised money at some point.
Yeah, we hadn't even launched
summer,
Laravel
fall.
Cloud yet. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we launched Laravel Cloud in March of this year. So we were still like in the trenches of actually building all of this infrastructure, building out the team, hiring people on the open source side as well. Like, I mean, that's one thing with raising money is we wanted to make sure we don't, neglect our roots of like, we really came out of open source. And so like really the more successful Laravel Cloud is, the more we can invest in the open source side. So growing that team as well. But yeah, the team is bigger. We've got the products out, which like feels great. I feel like all of 2024 was like such a build year for us. And we didn't really like ship anything, which felt weird for me because all those years in open source, it just felt like we were shipping. And then 2024 was like build. And then 25, like finally launch. So I'm excited coming into 2026. I feel like we have like all the foundations in place and like things are moving well and we can just like keep growing.
Can you talk about your philosophy around kind of how you do sales, like
Mm.
developer-led growth, or you're seeing like a more and more commercial traction? You were mentioning before, we were just catching up that you're getting enterprise
Yeah.
users coming online. Where are
Yeah.
they coming from? How are you thinking about marketing or selling to them as
Yeah.
a.
I mean, I can tell you where we're at now, and we'll see how it like evolves over the next few years. But like a lot of what we've been doing, really exclusively, is just like inbound people we meet at Laracon. We have
Your
historically,
conference that you,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
have
yeah,
4 Laracons around the world, one in the U.S., Europe, India, and Australia.
yeah.
So we meet these people at Laracon. They've historically not had an offering from us that maybe fits their needs because they have security requirements. They need SOC 2. They need like more enterprise requirements that I just didn't really like cater to when I was bootstrapping the company. And so now there's a little bit of like pent up demand, right? For like, oh, now we have this actually enterprise grade, fully managed offering. And we just have people coming to us right now because it's a new thing. So we just meet them at our conferences and at events and things. We'll see how that goes. We may eventually run out of leads there and need to like do some outbound selling. But right now, we've just been taking inbound leads from our events and sort of out of the developer community.
Yeah, I mean, you have so much developer love built up. We talk about that at WorkOS, developer, experience, but really the emotional reaction people have to the
Yeah.
framework. And I hear people say they love Laravel.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like it's almost like fanatical. Like I've seen Laravel tattoos. I think this year I met my first person that had named their child Laravel, which was unbelievable.
Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah.
people
Does
get
that
like,
make you the grandfather? I don't know.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, the Godfather maybe.
People just get like very attached to like developer tools. I mean, like
Totally.
you've probably
Becomes
seen it as well.
identity.
Yeah,
It's
it
kind of
really
wild.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to ask too, how does AI fit into all of this? I feel like outside in, it would seem that there's so much, like pre-training data about PHP, given
Yeah.
it's been decades of it out in the set.
Yes.
How do these models do in terms of writing PHP code and writing Laravel?
Yeah.
What are you seeing there?
I have to admit it has been like a really big advantage being such like an established language and an established framework because we actually do just see really good results out of the box with LLMs writing both just PHP in general and Laravel specifically. We've done a few things to like help that. So we put out a local MCP server that people can run on their machine that Claude Code or Cursor hooks into. We vectorized all of our docs, and then the MCP server can query our docs. It can run database migrations. It can like run PHP code.
And it's all local, or does it?
Yeah, so
Okay,
like
interesting.
you
Yeah.
install it. It's called Laravel Boost, and the Boost server starts up, and it hooks into Claude Code, and then Claude Code can like leverage those MCP tools.
Did you have a CLI that did this already, or when you were building out the MCP stuff?
We have a dev
did you do
server
it?
that like fires up the
Okay.
MCP server already. So Laravel developers were already used to being like on the CLI, so that was like not a new thing for them.
But now the agent can do it, right?
Yes.
The coding system.
And so we just
yeah.
see like better results. If someone tells it to like, hey, implement this feature in my Laravel app, the MCP exposes a tool to the agent where it can query the docs for like the best practices, literally up to the day, of the most current information of how to do that. So we just get better results. It's also version specific, and this is a really cool feature. So the agent can know like, oh, this project's on Laravel 11, so I'm going to look at the Laravel 11 docs and not use this feature that was only introduced in Laravel 12. So it's just like more accurate results from the agent. So I've been like, I'm a huge fan of AI. I'm a little bit sad about it because I feel like I spent years crafting this like great DX and now no one actually cares about the code because the agent just writes all the code. But overall, just such like a net win for coding. And I think, like I'm excited to see what like a new generation of coders learning how to build apps for the first time. It's just like so much power unlocked for them to just be able to like, hey, I want to write this PHP script that does this. And they can learn from that. Like when I was first learning how to code, I copied and pasted scripts around and like tweaked things. And it's like not that different from like letting an LLM one shot something. I look at it, I'm like, oh, so that's how this works. And then I like make an adjustment. It's like a new way to learn how to code. And I'm using it basically every day myself.
Yeah, it's really democratized access to these
I
like
know, yeah, it's
languages and
unbelievable.
frameworks. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how fast you could learn to build stuff today by having not just examples like one-shotted, but you can go ask questions. I mean, I use
Yes.
Cursor all the time where I like highlight code and I'm like, what does this do?
Yes. I
You know?
I still maintain a lot of open source, and I will take like a PR description or like example and be like, write docs for this or like explain this. It's just mind boggling and just like an awesome time to be a developer.
Yeah, you mentioned that Laravel kind of docs server.
Yeah.
We also spent time chatting with the team at Context 7, which kind of does this for all
Yes.
docs. And it's really important because the pre-training data is biased towards existing data.
Right.
And if you have an API that you're versioning or a framework where there's new versions,
Yeah.
you can get really confused.
Totally. And we release a new Laravel version every Tuesday. A minor like patch release with new features. So we are able to feed the LLM information about those features every week, which just keeps it always up to date.
Feels like docs now, pains me to say this, but they were these lovingly handcrafted, the docs as a product. They used to
Right.
talk about that in building developer platforms. Now people don't read docs.
know.
The agents read docs, the LLMs read docs. How are you thinking about changing either your documentation or maybe even the framework itself for agent use? Are there things that you need to evolve with Laravel to make it better for agents to write code using it, or are you
Yeah.
not at that point yet?
We've thought about this a little bit about making the APIs like extremely explicit or like maybe even more verbose than we might historically make them. Like when I was building Laravel 10 years ago, we would craft these like very almost like whimsical APIs, kind of in the Rails fashion. And now it's
Like a question mark, type of
yeah,
thing for,
yeah.
you know.
And now it's like, I guess, the agents do well with like very specific method names, very like explicit class names. And it's like, so I don't know, a little bit less art and like more science, I guess, to it. So we haven't actually like tweaked the framework that much for that, but we still like, it's something that's on our radar, to think about. But overall, we're still seeing good results with the LLMs as it is. So we just haven't done anything drastic there.
Yeah, I've wondered what's going to be the first framework that's built for LLMs and agents first and people second. Because with
Yeah.
things like Laravel or Django or Next.js, they're all built for people, and
Yes.
agents now write them. And the inverse of that feels like it'd be really powerful.
Yeah.
Build stuff quickly. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's very interesting to see also like technologies that sort of like were accidentally agent friendly. Like Tailwind CSS comes to mind, for example, where it's become like the de facto standard for all like LLM generated code output for the front end, like by total accident, right? And it was just like happened to be finally tuned for agents beforehand, and we didn't even know it. It's just like I don't know, it's a wild time to be.
Is there other stuff you see like that works really well for agents or
You know,
DevOps tooling or infrastructure or things that are agent ready without being designed for that initially? AI ready, maybe?
I mean, that was one of the first ones that came to mind. And like, I mean, maybe like the flip side to this is, um, it seems like harder almost to create a new framework today. Like if I was writing Laravel today from scratch and putting it out into the world and there's like no training data on it, it's like such a huge hurdle to overcome. So I'm interested to see like, how does that change how people introduce new tools? How do they get traction? Like, how do they get adoption when they're not in the training data at all? It's just a totally different world. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out.
Separate question from this. What's your kind of relationship to the PHP runtime? I
Mm,
know like Facebook at the time, now Meta, invested a ton in like
yeah.
the hip hop VM and Hack. They kind of changed the language fundamentals. I
Yes.
think Slack was built on top of
Correct. Yeah.
Hack. They like use that.
Yes.
I'm curious around that as a framework developer and thinking how deep do you go? Are you guys gonna eventually build your own runtime or go that deep?
That's tempting.
I don't know. Bit nerd
It's a
snipe you.
it's a tough thing to accomplish. Like Facebook took a stab at it, like you said. It never really gained traction outside of Facebook. For probably a variety of reasons. So like where PHP is today is there's a PHP foundation which Laravel financially contributes to. That foundation then hires developers to work on PHP itself. And I think something like 2/3 of the features in this year's PHP release were funded by contributions from companies like Laravel, other large companies using PHP to like fund the development of PHP. So that's basically our relationship with PHP right now. Forking PHP is just like difficult. I'm not saying we would never do it. It's not something I see like in the next few years.
Sounds like it's not holding you back.
No, it's
You
not
know.
holding us back. I think PHP is making good progress, and there is like a sustainable model at this point for maintaining the language. And that's, I think, what really matters. And then we'll see what happens, years down the road.
So last question for you. I'll let you go. Get back to reInvent. Yeah, I think you were here for the first time last year. This is
Right.
your second reInvent.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to here this week? Like in terms of seeing, connecting, doing.
Like I get the most energized by just like hearing about what people are building, especially as they're just getting started, because I like relate so much to that as remembering back when I was first starting Laravel and like what an exciting time that was. So like hearing about what they're building, hearing about what they're excited about, what they're building it with, getting them to try Laravel. Because I just like I'm still such like a hacker, founder, like bootstrapper at heart. Like I just love hearing like that part of the journey. So just like networking with people, hearing about what they're excited about, like it gets me excited. It makes me like go home and just like ready to get out the laptop and start like cranking out some code.